Coming up, we're connecting you with the creativity and culture in your community, including a jazz singer whose talent took her from Broadway to LA and beyond before settling in the Berkshires.
Seeing people smile and be happy and having a good time means everything to me. And dancing, when they're dancing, it thrills me.
Explore how Springfield Museums is cultivating diversity in its collections.
How can we do more to inspire our community to think about the objects and the works that they see within the museums as being really relevant to their own lives?
And a program that creates pathways from incarceration to college gets a boost from state funding.
For many of them, the first time an educator has taken an active interest in them. So it's really facilitated their ability to see themselves as students who are worthy.
Join us for those stories and more as we explore the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. Up next on Connecting Point.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us for Connecting Point, your source for creativity, culture, and community. I'm Saidalis Bauer. Every week, we explore all that the region has to offer, and today we're coming to you from the D'Amour Museum of Fine Arts, one of 5 institutions that make up the Springfield Museums. We'll hear about a new exhibit at the museums later on in the show, but we start today by kicking off our celebration of Black History Month. Jazz singer Wanda Houston sustained a bi-coastal career for years, performing with the likes of Barbra Streisand, Patti Austin, Joe Cocker, and even a few shows on Broadway. In 2006, she settled in the Berkshires full-time and has become such a fixture in the local music scene that some people assume she's been here forever. Producer Dave Frazier caught up with Houston at a recent performance in Lenox and shares her story.
Seeing people smile and be happy and having a good time means everything to me. And dancing, when they're dancing, it thrills me.
Wanda Houston has enjoyed a career that has taken her around the world, including major metropolises on 3 continents. But for more than a decade, she has made southern Berkshire County her home and sings with numerous groups throughout western New England.
I've known about the Berkshires and didn't know it was the Berkshires since I was 9 years old, because my parents took me, as a family, went to see Alice's Restaurant, which was one of my favorite songs. I knew all the words to that, and I just loved the story, and I loved what it was about. And then we saw the movie, and I went, oh, what a beautiful place, and they're all together, and they're all in love, and there's, the black and white people all together. That's a haven. It's a beautiful place. One day I want to go there.
Houston was born in Chicago and grew up on stage, she says. Her dad ran a theater company and her mom was a choir director.
I always knew that it was what I wanted to do. But, and my parents are like, well, Juan, it's not an easy, life, and you should have something to fall back on just in case the music thing doesn't work. So I went to college for chemistry because I love math and chemistry, so that's what I went to school for. And meanwhile, I'm in the choir, I'm doing shows, I'm doing the plays, and I'm like, who am I kidding? I'm an entertainer, I'm a singer.
For over 2 decades, she acted, sang, danced, recorded, and made films. She has shared the stage with Barbra Streisand, Celine Dion, Martha and the Vandellas, and more.
I just wanted to work. I just wanted to sing. I just wanted to do what I do and keep doing it. It wasn't so much about being famous. That happens, it happens, and it wasn't about that. It was really about the work and about and what that work does for you and what it does for people.
Knock, knock, knocking on my door.
In 2006, she settled in the Berkshires full-time, and music fans have turned out in droves to hear her sing. The versatile songstress is part of a few ensembles that travel around the region, drawing in audiences with a mesmerizing mix of mid-20th century jazz and R&B.
I have one in Connecticut called the HBH Band, And we play primarily in Connecticut and then the Wanda Houston band. But it all mixes up. Sometimes when they can't do it, that band goes down. When this band can't do it, and then sometimes I mix it all together.
I just smile and say, he told me so. That's why I know, yes, I know. Hallelujah, I love him so.
Along with performing, Houston is also Minister of Music at Pittsfield's First Baptist Church and collaborates with Music in Common's Black Legacy Project. Last year, she was recognized by Berkshire Magazine as one of the region's top 25 individuals who have made extraordinary contributions to their community.
It's been great to be able to do what I love and do it with people that I love and be recognized for it. Are you kidding?
And if you enjoyed that profile of Wanda Houston, be sure to go online right now to nepm.org/connectingpoint, where you'll find more on the people, stories, and issues that shape the Black experience in Western New England in our Black History Month collection. The Springfield Museums have focused on diversifying their collection as part of the organization's strategic diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. New now contemporary art acquisitions currently on display at the D'Amour Museum of Fine Arts explores the diverse cultural and creative methods of artists like Faith Ringgold, Nelson Stevens, and Ai Weiwei. I spoke with Maggie North, Curator of Art at the Springfield Museums, to learn more about the collection.
About every 5 years, the Springfield Museums undergoes a planning process where we take a look at our collections plan and our strategic plan. We think about where we are now and where we want to go. And really the focus of our most recent plan has been diversity, equity, and inclusion. We realize that our collections are not always representative of the community that we live and work in. And we believe that we can do more to tell fuller, more interesting stories about the artistic products of our time and of the histories that we're telling throughout the museums. So certainly as we move forward in thinking about our collections, we'll be thinking about reflecting this broad range of artistic approaches, and especially including artists who have perhaps been overlooked by the historical canon in the past. So this includes artists of color, women artists, LGBTQ+ artists, as well as Latino artists, and so many more, disabled artists included. We certainly have some work to do, but we're really excited about this direction.
And so this new exhibition, it's really encompassing all of that you're talking about with diversity. Tell us a little bit more and how it's meeting that goal of diversification for the collections.
So this new exhibition, New Now, represents works of art that have been added to our collection in the past 2 years. So they're new to the collection, and they represent the moment that we're living in right now, because they're contemporary artworks that have the power to speak to cultural, social, political changes that are happening in our lives all around us. I think contemporary art can be defined in a number of ways. Some folks will tell you contemporary art is made after 1950 or made after 1970, but I think it's a much easier way to think about contemporary art when we think about art that is made by artists who are living in our time. So that's what we're thinking about as we look at these new acquisitions. The exhibition is anchored by 5 works by the artist, activist, and children's book writer, Faith Ringgold. I'm so excited about these works of art. They're stunning and they're colorful, textural, and beautiful. There are also works in the exhibition by a range of other artists, including Nelson Stevens, who was an important member of the Black Arts Movement and who lived in Springfield, the environmentalist painter Marlene Yu, and the Chinese artist and activist Ai Weiwei.
You're talking about Faith Ringgold and some of her artwork, and I know that in addition to having a diverse cultural background, each of these artists, they also have a diversity of creative approaches. So can you elaborate more on the different techniques and styles that are represented in this exhibition?
So within this exhibition, there are paintings as well as representations of printmaking and mixed media works. Faith Ringgold is especially known for pushing the boundaries of media. She's really well known for these beautiful imaginative story quilts that she often creates from fabric and textiles. And in doing so, she's drawing on the work of her mother and her grandmother, who were seamstresses and quilt makers. And she's pulling these techniques into the realm of contemporary art. And in doing so, telling interesting stories about the people that she knew, or about her own life, drawing on a sort of autobiographical lens. So within the exhibition, there are prints that draw on those story quilts created by Faith Ringgold, as well as a textile piece, which is in itself a sort of screen print combined with a quilt. So an interesting approach to this new media. And that's a really beautiful representation of women dancing on the George Washington Bridge. It's a beautiful image of freedom and joy and power. And women were important within Faith Ringgold's body of work. She was a feminist artist and somebody who aimed to represent women as active and joyful and powerful across her work. So I hope that this will be a piece that folks come back to. It's one of my favorites in the show.
It's definitely one of my favorites as well. It's so amazing to me that you can be able to tell stories in all these different ways, like on a quilt. It's something that I never would have thought about. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. And you were talking a little bit about these exhibitions telling the story of our time. You've mentioned that expanding the collections, you can tell relevant stories about our communities and our era. So what do you think that this collection says about the time that we are living in right now?
I think this exhibition does the work of just expanding the very many types of stories that can be told right now. Experiences are broad, and we can't tell every single story within the space of the museums, but the more that we can tell, the better. And I think that great art, excellent art, and excellent art is also what's being represented in this exhibition, allows us to connect with one another, engage in conversation. Maybe it challenges us or pushes us to think about art in a new way or see the world in a new way. And so I hope all of these works can do that. But I think one thing that will be especially salient to folks who walk through the exhibition will be Ai Weiwei's masks. These were displayed in a recent exhibition of ours, and we're so pleased to add them to the collection. They're actually surgical masks that have been screen printed with historical Chinese designs by the artist Ai Weiwei. So he's combining the old with the new in a way that creates a symbol of our time, the pandemic that we've all lived through, as well as the resilience of these historical motifs, which were taken from a Han Dynasty text called The Classic of Mountains and Seas. And they're really beautiful pieces that I think speak to the way contemporary art can make us look to the past, the present, and the future.
This exhibition isn't the only answer to this multi-year diversification plan. It's just the beginning. So tell us what's next for the Springfield Museums.
Thank you. That's really well put. This is just the beginning. We really look forward to adding, as I said, more Latinx art to the collections at the museums, as well as work by disabled artists, women artists, artists of color, Indigenous artists. Will certainly be a focus as we continue to expand our contemporary art collections. And we're looking also at our historical art collections. So throughout the history of American art, for example, how can we make sure that folks who have been overlooked as makers are better included in the stories that we're telling, in the portraits, in the sculptures, in the mixed media works throughout our 18th, 19th, and 20th century galleries.
Every week, Connecting Point explores the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. But it doesn't stop there. You can find us online anytime for exclusive features and content. In this week's digital exclusive, Maggie North, Curator of Art at the Springfield Museums, shares her personal connection to one of the artists featured in the New Now Contemporary Art Acquisitions exhibit.
And so seeing some of the works that were a result of this children's book and were inspired by the original illustrations from this children's book have just been so powerful for me, and especially, you know, as a curator, but also just as an individual who's walking through this world and has the opportunity to connect with these pieces.
You can find that digital exclusive online right now at nepm.org/connectingpoint. For the past quarter century, the Indian Orchard Mills have become a landing spot for countless local stained glass artists, weavers, painters, and more to practice their craft. In his third and final look at the artists of Indian Orchard Mills, Connecting Point's Brian Sullivan meets up with artist Ellen Pollock and sculptor Maxwell Parker to discuss their experience working in the old mill building turned creative community.
It's a cool gray winter Saturday at the Indian Orchard Mills, and the sounds of drills, miter saws, and hammers permeate the air of the artwork space occupied by Maxwell Parker. This isn't really an uncommon sight on the weekend, since Parker has a regular 9-to-5 job during the week, making this some of the only time for him to tap into his unique creative side. What is uncommon, however, is that Ellen Pollock, the artist with whom he shares half this space, is here as well. Normally, these two have more of a two ships passing in the night kind of working relationship, and it's a relationship born out of financial convenience for both of them.
I share my space to share expenses. That's basically the whole thing. And, you know, Max is great. It's just turned out that we haven't been here at the same time. So we always have our space to ourselves.
Each represents two entirely different spectrums of the art world. Pollock is more established and has a more traditional approach, while Parker is still relatively new, particularly in this building, and his sculpting style leans heavily on the experimental side.
What I'm doing is I'm making a driving simulator that deals with kind of what you would feel like driving down the road with some person behind you with their brights on and stuff like that, and that whole overwhelming experience and like trying to like deal with, you know, keep driving forward and being like safe, I guess, but like with all these other things going on.
It's art that might be described as perfectly imperfect. It's not made of the finest materials or even cut exactly right. There's a certain funhouse feel to it, and that's exactly what he's going for.
I love having fun with things, so like I wanted to kind of like exude that and have people see what I see in my things that I make. And I guess when I was little, they would be like little science experiments that I would create, you know, like pulling stuff out of the trash, putting it together, like making like little robots out of, non-functional robots out of or like remote control cars. So like I kind of want to like recreate that here and like allow the space for people to play.
If Ellen Pollock's work is considered traditional, it's only due to the fact that it doesn't require power tools to put together. The styles that comprise her body of work are quite expansive.
I'm focusing on abstracts a little bit. I also do something called process painting, which is when you tack a piece of paper up on the wall, grab some poster paints, and start painting without any preconceptions and not looking at anything. So you're not doing reality. It can end up being abstract. It can end up being just some fantasy thing. But my goals in art is to express my feelings, either my feelings at the moment or my impressions of whatever I'm painting.
This studio is the first shared space that we visited during our time at the Indian Orchard Mills, and finding it was part of the adventure. From the outside, these buildings can be a bit intimidating for first-timers here. It may seem obvious, but something as simple as these decorative numbers by the doors really made it a lot easier to navigate. What's been neat about this experience is that we've gotten a chance to kind of explore these old mill buildings. The last time we visited, we were upstairs here on the 3rd floor. Before that, we stopped over at the back building through door 7. This time around, we're taking a look at some studio space here on the 2nd floor by way of door 19. And it's about halfway down this long corridor that we find the studio shared by Ellen Pollock and Maxwell Parker, neither of whom would be considered cagey veterans of this complex. Pollock having been here for just a few years, and Parker just a few months. But regardless of the length of their tenure, each is enjoying making their mark here.
These old mill buildings just like kind of give you the freedom to not worry about like screwing anything up too. You know, like it's already been used for a purpose and now it has a new life and like you're breathing like whatever you're doing into it. I
love the old mill buildings. I just think a lot of them are falling apart, and I really personally have a real love for them, but as far as this one goes, it has a history of housing an artist community, and it's just a great place to be.
The Massachusetts Department of Higher Education recently awarded a Bridges to College grant to the Western Mass Core program at Holyoke Community College. Founded in 2019, Western Mass Core works in partnership with the Hampden County Sheriff's Office to provide educational services and other resources to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated individuals. I spoke with leaders of the organization to learn about the impact this funding will have on the program and how life-changing these educational pathways are for the participants.
Incarceration is a multidimensional experience, and it impacts people in a variety of ways: physically, emotionally, economically, and socially. And so Western Mass Core was created to build a pathway from incarceration to college for those folks that are interested in pursuing a college degree or a certificate.
And so you've been working in partnership for the past several years now with the Hampden County Correctional Center in Ludlow and the Western Mass Regional Women's Correctional Center in Chicopee. What impact have these courses and this program had on the individuals?
It's, for many of them, the first time an educator has taken an active interest in them. So it's really facilitated their ability to see themselves as students who are worthy of an education. So I think there's that. But then I think the other wonderful thing about our program is that we're present. We're there for advising. We're there for information sessions about the college. So we're doing much more than just offering a course here and a course there. We're really about creating programming and a pathway. And so for students on the inside, I think that's helpful. And then upon release, once a student or an individual is in the community, we're there to support that student in locating the resources that they might need. And so we're building multiple bridges.
You've mentioned that in the past year, you've been focusing on post-incarceration support. What does that entail, and why is that so important?
So that looks like really intensive advising and working with students as they try to navigate reentry. And so, college can be one aspect of that, but HCC does have a host of services that, we connect students with, including housing, the Thrive Center. There's a student emergency fund. These can be very critical resources to support somebody's academic goals, because if the basic needs are not being met, then it's, as difficult to focus on school. So, that's one aspect of it. And then in terms of academic support, it's really enrolling in courses, connecting a student with a learning coach or the tutoring center, having 1, 2, 3 people to really, reach out to, we find is rather important.
That's a big part of my job is just kind of connecting with students upon release, particularly, or upon referral. We do get a lot of referrals from the community, and just kind of see what their goals are, what their aspirations are, and how does HCC fit into that picture. And, how can we help them achieve their goals academically, career-wise? It's a really fun. It's a fun part of my job, and I think it's really important for some of these people who may just not know where to begin. It can be really difficult and kind of scary to navigate a big institution like a community college. So.
Absolutely. And so being a part of Western Mass Core, how has it changed you all individually? What have you learned about yourselves and the community?
It's almost like community college is kind of the equalizer, right? Like everyone comes in the same, regardless of whether you've been previously incarcerated or, not. If you have no justice involvement, everyone kind of comes in trying to find their way and trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. And that's something that I think everyone thinks about. It's just been it's been a real eye opener for like the kinds of experiences that, you know, we all kind of share as a community.
And so as this program continues to grow, what are your hopes for its future?
Well, we'd love to see greater awareness of the possibilities of attaining higher education among all of our students, both, you know, folks on the inside and people who are in the community and may have a criminal record and haven't thought about college. We'd like to really deepen connections among formerly incarcerated adult learners who are on our campus, to create a system of peer support and mentoring. We'd love to see, you know, increased college readiness. Ultimately, you know, it is a way to increase community safety and create healthier communities. Healthier communities are communities where people can pursue a college education, can find a job with sustainable wages, can support their families. And so we see this program as part of a larger effort to close some of those gaps.
And that does it for this edition of Connecting Point. Remember, you can always find all of the stories that you saw in this episode, as well as exclusive features, digital-only content, and so much more online anytime at nepm.org/connectingpoint. Our thanks to the Springfield Museums for hosting us today. And please be sure to join us again every week right here for more stories of the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. I'm Saidalis Bauer. Thanks for watching and take care.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
Hallelujah.